Chapter: The Secret Hiding in Plain Sight. In 1945, workers in Egypt accidentally broke open a tomb. Inside, 13 leather-bound manuscripts, 48 separate works, hidden for over 1,000 years. One of them was the Gospel of Thomas, a collection of sayings attributed directly to Jesus. Not stories about Jesus, not interpretations of Jesus, his actual words. And the opening line reads, "Whosoever finds the interpretation of these sayings shall never taste death." Not whosoever memorizes them, not whosoever believes them, whosoever finds the asterisk interpretation. Asterisk. The sayings are not the secret. The secret is what they mean. But here is what nobody in this space is telling you about that text. The Gospel of Thomas was not lost by accident. It was asterisk removed, asterisk. In 325 AD, the Emperor Constantine and the early church made a deliberate decision: what stays in the Bible and what disappears. At least 45 books were either completely eliminated or heavily edited, and what was cut, specifically surgically cut, was the information that tells you that the power is asterisk inside you. Not in a priest, not in a church, not in a ritual, in you. The establishment of the 4th century understood exactly what they were doing, and what they removed is the precise mechanism that Neville Goddard spent his entire life trying to put back into your hands. Chapter: What Constantine didn't want you to know. Greg Braden, who has spent decades translating ancient texts and cross-referencing them with modern science, identifies something specific about what was lost in those 325 AD edits. It wasn't theology that was removed. It wasn't doctrine. It was asterisk instructions. Asterisk. The information that tells you how the field of consciousness works, the language that speaks directly to it, the precise inner movement that bridges thought and reality. That is what was taken. And here is how we know it was taken, because we are now recovering it. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Nag Hammadi library, in the Coptic texts buried in Egyptian soil. These were not preserved by accident. They were hidden asterisk because someone knew they needed to survive. Now look at what the Gospel of Thomas actually says. And look at it carefully, because this is the layer most people miss. Verse 3. The kingdom is inside of you and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known. But if you will not know yourselves, you dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty. Read that again. Not asterisk. You are experiencing asterisk poverty. You asterisk are asterisk that poverty. The Vedantic tradition says the same thing with different language. The Mandukya Upanishad teaches that the self, Atman, is not a thing that asterisk has asterisk awareness. It asterisk is asterisk awareness. Pure, undivided consciousness looking at itself through individual form. When you mistake the form for the totality, you shrink, you contract. You live in the gap between what you are and what you believe yourself to be. That gap, that is the poverty Jesus is describing in verse 3. And verse 113 makes the mechanism explicit. The kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth and men do not see it. Not, the kingdom is coming. Not, the kingdom is reserved for the worthy. It is asterisk already here. The only question is whether you can perceive it. And perception, this is the Neville Goddard insight, is always downstream of assumption. What you assume to be true becomes your lens. Your lens determines what you see. What you see confirms what you assumed. The loop closes. Reality hardens around the assumption. The kingdom is not absent from your life. You have simply assumed a self that cannot enter it. Chapter: The two that must become one. Here is where the Gospel of Thomas becomes extraordinary. Verse 106. When you make the two, thought and emotion, one, you will say to the mountain, "Move away," and the mountain will move away. And then, in case you missed it, verse 48 says almost the same thing. If the two make peace with each other in this one house, they will say to the mountain, "Move away," and it will move away. The house is you. The temple is you. The mountain is whatever in your reality currently seems immovable. And the mechanism is not willpower, it is not repetition, it is not visualization divorced from feeling, it is asterisk union. Asterisk thought and emotion becoming a single coherent signal. This is where most manifestation practice fails. And fails specifically. People think the thought. They picture the outcome. And somewhere underneath that picture, a different emotion is running. Hope laced with doubt. Desire shadowed by the memory of the last time it didn't work. The thought says asterisk, yes, asterisk. The feeling says, we'll see. The Bhagavad Gita identifies this exact split. In Chapter 3, Krishna tells Arjuna that action performed in internal contradiction, what the Gita calls the war between the lower and higher nature, produces results contaminated by that contradiction. The field you are working with is not reading your intention. It is reading your asterisk state. Asterisk your integrated, felt, embodied state. Neville Goddard says the same thing in different words. You must make your future dream a present fact now by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Not picturing the wish, not hoping for the wish. Asterisk, assuming the feeling. Being in this moment, the version of you for whom it has already happened. That is thought and emotion becoming one. And Greg Braden's translation work reveals something even more precise. Because the original Aramaic of John 16:23-24, before the 4th century edit, did not simply say, ask and you shall receive. 2 sentences were removed. The original read, ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. Be enveloped by what you desire, that your gladness may be full. Be surrounded. Be enveloped. This is not cognitive prayer. This is not petitioning from a position of lack. This is inhabiting the state of completion so fully that the field, which does not recognize the voice but does recognize the feeling generated in the heart, has no choice but to respond. The Buddhist monasteries in Tibet use a phrase for this. The monks say, already done. Not, I hope this works. Not, I am trying to believe this. Already done. Now. Not in 5 minutes. Not when the conditions change. Now. Your heart generates electromagnetic waves. Those waves carry the signature of your inner state. The field responds to that signature, not to what you say you want. This is why Neville's teaching is not about thinking harder. It is about feeling truer. Chapter: The application you have been missing. Here is what this looks like as a practice. Not as a concept, but as a specific inner movement you can locate right now. Martial artists who break concrete blocks are not thinking about their hands striking the block in the moment before impact. If they focus there, on the surface, on the obstacle, they tighten. They pull back. The fear of pain contracts the very muscles they need. Instead, they place their awareness below the block. They feel the feeling of the hand already having passed through, the result already achieved, the mountain already moved. And from that felt sense of completion, the body follows with perfect force. That is the entire teaching. The error is placing your imagination at the obstacle, analyzing it, rehearsing it, building a strategy to overcome it from the current position of someone who has not yet overcome it. That is asking with hidden motive, with the ego's fear running underneath every request. To ask without hidden motive means to come from the heart, without the judgment of right or wrong, possible or impossible, deserving or undeserving. The Gnostic tradition calls this gnosis, direct knowing, not filtered through the evaluating mind. The Vedic tradition calls it pratyaksha, direct perception, unmediated by the conceptual overlay. You place your awareness in the state of the wish fulfilled, not as a mental exercise, as a bodily truth. You feel, specifically in the chest, what it feels like to already be that version of you, the one whose prayer is answered, the one for whom the healing happened. The one who lives in the kingdom that is, according to verse 113, already spread out upon the earth. You hold that feeling without asking for confirmation, without checking to see if it worked, without the hidden motive of needing to see proof before you fully commit. That is the two becoming one. Thought and emotion married into a single coherent signal that the field recognizes. And you do it not once in a session as a practice, You do it as the baseline assumption of your day. Chapter: The knowledge that was always yours. The Gospel of Thomas opens with a promise. Find the interpretation and you will never taste death. Not the literal death of the body, the death of limitation, the death of the belief that you are separate from the source of all things, a passive receiver of circumstances rather than the consciousness through which reality takes form. Verse 77 is the key that unlocks the entire text. It is I who am the light which is above them all. It is I who am the all. Split a piece of wood and I am there. Lift up the stone and you will find me there. The one consciousness lives within everything. It is not somewhere else. It is not arriving. It does not need to be invoked from a distance. This is what the Vedas call Brahman. This is what Neville Goddard calls I am. This is what Marcus Aurelius recognized as the ruling faculty, the inner citadel that no external event can breach, because it is the source from which all events emerge. The information was not lost because it was untrue. It was removed because it was *2 true. Because a person who genuinely knows that the kingdom is already inside them, already spread out upon the earth, already present in this moment. That person does not need an intermediary, does not need to wait, does not need permission. The teachers who have moved you most deeply, Neville Goddard, the writers of the Upanishads, the author of the Bhagavad Gita, the monks in Tibet who say already done *. They are all pointing to the same interior country. You have always had access. You were simply given a map with those coordinates removed. Now you have them back. The mountain is movable. The two can become one. The kingdom is not coming. It is here. It has always been here. And it is you. If this moved something in you, if this is the layer you have been looking for, the next video goes deeper into Neville Goddard's specific teaching on the I am and its direct correspondence with the Mandukya Upanishad's Turiya state. It is the most precise map I have found for what we discussed today. It is linked above.